So again, we're all assembled here to remember Srila Prabhupada for being so merciful to us. Each one of us, we have different experiences or realizations of Srila Prabhupada and how he has impacted our lives and has, by his causeless mercy, been able to sustain us, some for many years, some of us now just beginning on our journey. So this is something that I have done from the very beginning of my Krishna conscious life, is kept memorabilia. Everyone knows memorabilia, things that help you remember. And in this case, this is how to remember Srila Prabhupada. So, for me, my very first realization and my chance to see and associate with Srila Prabhupada, I was a little afraid because our temple, we had only one picture of Srila Prabhupada, and it was a very stern picture of Srila Prabhupada sitting in black and white, and he didn't project to me in that picture the loving person that I knew and I felt was the person that made me come and become a devotee. So someone had given me the very first day, of all the things I have, that one little picture. I somehow can't find it in my room, but I still have it. So when we would sit in the temple to chant, I would always bring out this tiny, small picture of Srila Prabhupada, contrary to the one we used on his Vyasa-san. This one, Srila Prabhupada was walking along the seaside with a couple of his young disciples, wearing a heavy overcoat and a pull-down hat that covered his ears. But his smile, as we have seen so many times, just as in the Vyasa Puja book, was most radiant smile, ear-to-ear smile. If anyone has ever heard you're grinning from ear to ear, that was Srila Prabhupada. So today there are thousands and thousands and thousands. I heard at one time 46,000 pictures of Srila Prabhupada. But at that time, most temples were so poor, we couldn't even afford pencils and paper. What to speak of cameras, which were much more complex than they are today. But that one little tiny picture of Srila Prabhupada always brought great satisfaction. And I knew that, yes, this stern picture that we had on our Vyasasan, now I know that this sternness was Dhira, being very grave and projecting the qualities of such a great soul. But for me, because I was so young and impressionable, it was hard to see that picture, whereas that little tiny picture of Srila Prabhupada, through trying times, gave me solace, and I could see the love and affection that Srila Prabhupada had for us devotees. So I'm going to hold up objects. Most of you won't be able to see them clearly, but anyway, I'll try to explain to you their significance. So this picture here is in 1970, and this is the first Ratha-yatra festival. Actually, not the first, but it was the first big Ratha-yatra festival. And for many devotees, it was their first time to see Srila Prabhupada. And for me, it was my very first time to physically see him. Although I had been a devotee already 2 years, this was my first time to physically see and dispel any illusions I had as to how wonderful this personality was. So Srila Prabhupada here, he had gotten down from his vehicle, he came out in front of Lord Jagannath's cart, and immediately he offered his obeisances and got up, and he lifted his arms in great jubilation, and he began dancing and dancing. But for me, this was my first time to physically see Prabhupada, and I was very happy, and I'm here right behind him. And all of these pictures were not something that I sought out, but they are things that came to me by chance. And I was so full of overwhelmed jubilation that I'm jumping and maybe 5 feet in the air. This one.
He's smiling too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ear to ear. Not to me, but Prabhupada, because this festival was the beginning of many things that were to come in the future. And so there are things that you have to retain within yourselves to keep your spirit of devotion strong. Otherwise, you will lose your determination. One thing that happened after this Ratha-yatra festival is that I went to Los Angeles, and I was officially accepted by Srila Prabhupada as his disciple. Unworthy as I was, Prabhupada accepted me as his disciple and gave me the name Gopal. And when you receive initiation, you get beads. And for me, these beads have been the link that I know will carry me across the ocean of birth and death. So of all my possessions, these are most dear to me. They were given to me personally by Prabhupada. And so in that way, I felt very fortunate. So we know that ISKCON began with many difficulties that Srila Prabhupada had to endure. The devotees that had come to Krishna consciousness also were subjected to the unkind behavior of American people because of Krishna consciousness being so strange and new. Many times we were dealt with in very hostile manners. But at a certain time, Srila Prabhupada selected a group of his disciples to accompany him to India. Now, in India, of course, the mentality for the most part was that of being receptive, because what Srila Prabhupada was delivering was part of the Indian heritage. Although there was also much skepticism from many parts, those who are doubting Thomases and those who were polluted by Mayavadi philosophy. So this here, this is an old Back to Godhead, and this was published, and it was being distributed in America. And this shows some of the programs that Srila Prabhupada attended as we traveled throughout India, and how receptive we were received by so much of the Indian population. And many of these pictures were taken in Surat, which is in Gujarat. And I think Jamuna, they had just published some article where she explained also about how we would begin Nagar Sankirtan like at 4 o'clock in the morning, and every part of the town would be festively decorated with rice paintings on the streets, and everyone in the village or the town would come out to take part in Srila Prabhupada's Sankirtan movement, chanting, decorating the devotees with garlands and kumkun. And Srila Prabhupada didn't attend every time these Sankirtan parties, but he would be there at the end to greet us, and again, grinning from ear to ear, being very, very, very appreciative as how his Sankirtan movement was being received. So again, this is one thing that I have kept as a memorabilia. Just something that, you know, each devotee had experienced with Srila Prabhupada. So in 1971, at that time, Srila Prabhupada began from India in the Kumbh Mela festival, began to dispatch certain devotees to go to different foreign countries. And each devotee that was sent here or there, in most respects, they all met with success, because now in all of these places there are thriving congregations of devotees. But in some cases, if you met with more success, Srila Prabhupada would stop his activities, and he would come and he would join you. And if he joined you, of course, he would engage in his Sankirtan movement. He would sanctify the land that he walked on, the country that he was visiting, and make that place a place of pilgrimage. And so all of these places that Srila Prabhupada visited were places of pilgrimage. So time went on, and devotees continued to express himself or themselves by rendering service to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada wanted to expand this society. I have one picture here. At a time when there were no temples in India, Srila Prabhupada had a vision where he saw this temple and he saw other places. And one place was Mayapur. Of course, we know Mayapur as being the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when Prabhupada came to India, the first thing he did was made a purchase of land in Mayapur and began at a very slow pace to develop what we have in Mayapur today. So for me, I was fortunate to take part from the very beginning in that project, and it to me brings the memories of, there's a movie, a Hollywood movie, which was called The Field of Dreams. So I don't know if any of you know the name of this or this movie, but The Field of Dreams was about a corn farmer, I believe in Iowa, and the economy was bad, and he would have a reoccurring dream that if you build it, they will come. And so he had to fulfill this dream, so he began to build a baseball diamond in the middle of this cornfield, in the middle of nowhere. He built this very wonderful baseball diamond, and upon completion of this baseball diamond, surrounding the field were additional cornfields, and from those fields of corn came all of the most famous baseball players from time begone, and they would play baseball. So to me, this was the same as this picture here. This was taken in Mayapur, 1974. And up until this point, Mayapur was a place that no devotees would go. Why? Because there was nothing there. Nothing but austerity and hardships. But Prabhupada's vision was, if you build it, they will come. So in 1974, we had our first Gaur Purnima festival, and devotees from all over the world came to participate in this festival. And for me, it was quite nice because other devotees here, everyone here, they had no way of relating to Prabhupada what progress or what had been developed in the building that is now even being used today as the home of Radha Madhava and now the Panchatattva and Lord Nrsimhadev. But this picture, there are many devotees who were very stalwart and at that time important devotees who had just come with us from a morning walk with Srila Prabhupada, and all of them, I'm standing right next to Srila Prabhupada. All of these devotees, they are in the background, and their pictures are kind of dull and gray, but this picture, both me and Srila Prabhupada, we are standing out in our saffron dress, very colorful. And so, okay. I try to hurry. So, everything, of course, there were also sad times in ISKCON. This picture is the last picture taken of Srila Prabhupada. And so for many, as was for me, a very, 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 very sad time in our life and our spiritual progress. But we who were a little sincere, we were also given intelligence to say that this wasn't the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada is continuing to appear in the hearts and the souls of devotees, and his greatness is being recognized in so many ways. This is a small picture. This is a stamp which is published by the Indian government with Srila Prabhupada on this stamp. And so at a time when Srila Prabhupada was being mocked, still his determination was very strong. From the very beginning, when we arrived in India, Prabhupada was being mocked by them making derogatory songs about Hare Krishna, but Srila Prabhupada's perseverance remained steadfast, and this stamp is a testimony to that, where he was recognized for his greatness. And his greatness is being recognized every day. More and more temples are being established. And the same holds true for Malaysia. Malaysia is a Muslim country, but in 1971, Srila Prabhupada came to Malaysia. I was fortunate to be there, and he sanctified that Muslim country where it's against the law to preach to a Muslim about any religion. But they recognize Prabhupada's greatness. And they also commemorated him. So today is the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada, but I want all of you to remember that Srila Prabhupada is just like Krishna. He is making appearances continuously. Srila Prabhupada, 1896, was born in Calcutta, but for each one of us, Srila Prabhupada had made his appearance. For me, 1967. For you, when did Srila Prabhupada appear to you?
1980.
In 1980. And someone else 1970, 1990, 2000. Maybe someone here today has heard and met Srila Prabhupada. For the first time. So this day that Prabhupada appeared in your life is the day that he appeared to you. And on this day that he appeared in your life, he has given you the opportunity to go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.